The legislature today over Nebraska's overcrowded prisons.
The state seems prepared to spend hundreds of millions to replace the penitentiary, but studies say it won't be enough. Brian Mastery has our coverage tonight.
The state's own study finds Nebraska's prison population will jump from 5,800 to 7,400 inmates by 2030, so just 7 years from now. It will take 5 years to build a replacement to the penitentiary, which would hold around 1,500, meaning in the year 2030, there are 1,500 inmates with nowhere to go unless something changes.
The Nebraska State Penitentiary should be closed down, not replaced. And the state should stop investing in expansions of the excessive physical infrastructure of our criminal legal system.
Tecumseh facility still remains under a staffing emergency despite positive gains during the past year. So we've seen some progress, but there's still concerns, and I just want to make sure everybody is aware of that.
The replacement prison for the aging state pen comes with a $335 million price tag. It's unclear if there are buildings that would still be useful on the property or if it all comes down.
This project can no longer be delayed. As you may recall, NSP recently lost a housing unit due to a water main break, requiring 140 inmates to be relocated. Those beds will not be usable for the foreseeable future. This is an example of the aging infrastructure.
Meanwhile, Nebraska's Chief Justice of the Supreme Court offered this piece of the puzzle when it comes to the rehabilitation aspect of inmates.
On any given day in Nebraska, there are approximately 14,000 adults and approximately 2,500 juveniles on probation. The average annual cost of supervision of an adult probationer is $5,500 per year. Compare that to the cost of incarceration in the Nebraska prison system, which is approximately $42,000 per year.
On your side in Omaha, Brian Mastery, 6 News.